I asked my brother Greg to critique my video, and he suggested that I should probably tell people who I am. So, my name's Jason. I'm a single dad. I've been divorced a little over 3 years, I think, officially. I was married for 15 years. Um, got divorced separated in 2019. We had a house up near the mountains, kind of a homestead place. Something I'd wanted my whole life, exactly what I wanted. A house and just 3 acres, but it was good enough for me. And Things went wrong. I'm not going to get too into the weeds here. I'll just say that my ex-wife was bipolar and things went bad. And We separated in June of 2019. And then I think the divorce was final in 2021. And I've had full custody of my kids since October of 21. Yeah, October of 21. Full-time single dad. She sees them every other weekend. So we live here on the northeast side of the greater Atlanta area. And I went through, a really, like a lot of guys that go through this kind of thing, divorce. I went through a really rough time, and it kind of took me a while to get back on my feet again and kind of figure my life out and reformulate my life and figure out what it was going to be going forward. And I made a lot of mistakes. I did a lot of wrong things, but it wasn't just divorce. Um, I had had severe back pain for years. I had been in pain management for over a decade. I'd already had one surgery. And in 2017, 18, I was 18 and 19, I had an additional 3 surgeries, including 2 lumbar fusions. So I was pretty miserable. If everything else in my life had been going well at that point, which it certainly was not, I was a very miserable man just because of the amount of back pain that I was in. It was unrelenting. It was every day. I was eating pain pills like candy and still in pain, unbearable pain. And to be quite honest, if it had not eventually gotten better, I don't think I would be here because life was not very fun during that time. I worked for a major insurance company that had a massive nationwide layoff during the time. And so I lost my job, pretty much lost my health, my marriage. My dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's during that time also. So, I mean, it was a really rough time in my life, and it affected me very deeply, very badly. And it took me a few years to kind of recalibrate myself and find a new path forward. And it's been a long process, but over the last several months, I've been through a lot of things that have kind of woken me up. One of them was before I turned 49. I turned 49 in April, and that was a little bit of a wake-up call. In another year, I'm going to have to be an actual adult. At least that's what I'm sticking with. But I had it's hard to raise 2 kids, with the inflation and prices the way they are alone by yourself right now. I wasn't getting any help, not getting child support for the last year. And so I changed jobs to try to go make more money and to be able to pay my bills and stop going into my savings to pay the rent and the grocery bill. So did that. The new job didn't work out. So I found myself then unemployed. Also was having some health issues and the 49th birthday rolling around. And I just finally, I don't know, just kind of woke up and figured out that the reason my life isn't the way that I want it to be is because I haven't been doing the things that are required to make it the way I want to be, right? And any of us that complain about not having what we want, not doing what we want, not being what we want, not being the man that we know we're capable of being or that we want to be, if we're honest with ourselves, I think we can all say that we're not doing enough to move toward that goal. And it has just been a stark wake up call for me. And, like the name of the channel, Men's Midlife Clarity, you hear midlife crisis thrown around a lot. And I certainly was in some version of that, going through some version of that. After I started really paying attention and doing an inventory of myself and my thoughts and my habits and where I was in life, the term that kept popping in my mind was clarity. I quit drinking completely and fixing my sleep schedule. I'm a night owl by nature, eating better, getting my health under control, losing weight, and clarity was the theme that kept coming up over and over again. I just kept seeing more and more things more and more clearly. And that's kind of what has brought me to this point. decided that I wanted to try to do, I've been saying I'm going to do a podcast or a YouTube channel for 3 years, all of the other things that I've said I was going to do. And I've just decided that now I'm just going to start doing these things. And so that's what this is. I wasn't really sure when I started exactly what path this was going to take. I think of originally what this was going to be about. My angle was going to be as a full-time single dad, being a girl dad specifically. And as I started researching topics and narrowing down what I wanted to focus on and what exactly it was that I wanted to say, I started to realize that the things that I wanted to talk about and the things that I have knowledge in and have experience with, were a little bit broader than just the single dad angle. And I also started to really see how many single men there are, especially single men, not only single, but there's a lot of guys out there, a lot of grown men, tough looking, grizzled men who are struggling. I mean, the number of references I'm seeing every day to guys talking about checking out, taking that last final ride, whatever, the last trip in the woods. I mean, men are struggling. And that kind of sealed the deal for me on this channel, where I just decided that this is going to be me talking about any and everything that I see as related to being, a middle-aged man in 2025. And, for you younger guys out there, there's probably a lot of stuff you're going to be able to pick up here, because even if you're not middle-aged, the difference between knowledge and wisdom is knowledge is something you learn. Wisdom is being able to learn the lesson from somebody else's experience. If you guys can learn from the guys that have been through stuff, been through at least part of the child rearing years and marriages and divorces and career changes and health crises and losing parents and all of that kind of stuff, there's certainly be a lot of stuff here that you guys can pick up from that as well. Mainly I'm talking to the guys around my age. If you're 40 to 60, 35 to 70, whatever, in that age range. And especially those of you who are unhappy with where you are, you feel stuck, you don't know what to do about it, you don't know how to change it, or you're like me, you have the worst ADHD and you talk yourself out of every single idea you have, or you procrastinate, or you get started on it, and as soon as you meet a little bit of resistance, you give up on it. I mean, does any of this sound familiar to anybody? But there is a way forward, and what it comes down to is the pain of staying where you are has to become greater than the pain of making changes. And it's scary to make changes. It's hard to make changes. And your subconscious mind is going to fight you tooth and nail because it does not want to change. It wants things to stay the same because that's what's familiar and that's what's comfortable. That is why it is so hard to leave a relationship or a marriage or a job or a friend group or a habit, because our subconscious minds fear that change. And so when you try to do that, you'll get resistance you don't even know you're getting from yourself. And you will get it from other people too. When you start making real changes, just get ready to meet resistance from places that you never thought you would see it. So back to what I want this channel to be about. I want it to be about men getting better, men figuring out their own lives, figuring out their purpose. And if you are miserable, or if you don't think there's any reason for you to be here, I believe that there is a purpose that you have not discovered yet. I'm almost 50, and I think I finally just figured mine out. And one of them is going to be to do whatever it is that I can do. I'm not anything special. I'm just a guy who's been through a bunch of shit and has a lot of stories to talk about. And I think I've picked up a little bit of wisdom here and there from my friends and my mentors and people that I look up to, and, a lot of the great books that I've read. But I want to do any and everything that I can to help these guys that are out there struggling, because especially Gen X men, and I was raised in the Southeast. I'm from Savannah, Georgia. So I know that this may be a little more of a Southern thing. Men are taught to have a stiff upper lip. Men are taught to tough it out, walk it out, rub some dirt in it. Men are not taught to reach out for help, to be vulnerable in any way, to share their struggles, especially when it comes to relationships and mental health and emotional pain. Guys are taught to push that stuff down and keep it buried. That's why so many of us are, riding motorcycles at excessive speeds, or, we're working on hanging iron on the side of a building, 200 feet in the air, or, doing whatever it is, listening to the music way too loud, just that kind of thing, because those are the outlets that we have. Most women, any decent looking woman can go on Facebook or Instagram or whatever and post a selfie and just get comment after like after comment from men and women. Guys are simping and falling all over themselves to tell her how gorgeous she is. And all the women are doing it too. Girl, you are so gorgeous. That haircut is amazing. Most men can't do that. Most men, nobody gives a shit about what you post online or what kind of day you're having, and that's just the way it is. So that's why we go out, and do crazy stuff sometimes, because that's how we deal with whatever we're dealing with, right? We can't get that instant gratification that a lot of women can get just by posting selfies online. So, but I think there are a lot of other guys too who have a lot of wisdom to share, and that is definitely one of the things that I want to be doing. Matter of fact, I'm already talking to a couple of guys about doing interviews. I've got a female dating expert that I'm talking to about coming on. Another guy has experience talking with service members in the counseling type scenario. But some good stuff that could really help people. And so that's who I am. That's what the channel's going to be about. And, if you know somebody that would benefit from this, if you know a guy that's struggling, if you're struggling, I don't care if you're married or not, got kids or not, if you are having a hard time figuring out, what changes need to be made in your life, or maybe you're just trying to survive. I'm talking to that guy too, because I was there. I was in survival mode for probably 4 or 5 years, survival mode, just get through the day, make it till tomorrow, keep the kids alive, and so there is hope. You can come out of it. You can figure out your own path and your own way forward, and it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to lean on other men, and, hopefully we can help each other. So it is a new channel. So if you would like the video and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. I hope you got something out of it, and I appreciate you sticking around and watching the video, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one.